Hello and welcome to Blockchain Gaming World with me, John Jordan. So in this video, we're going to have a quick overview of what's going on with GALA Games. So GALA Games has been around a couple of years actually, based out of North America. Have some pedigree, I suppose, in the sense that one of their founders was a early or was a co-founder actually at Zynga Games. So they've got some sort of game kind of history there, and they've been building out their own platform, which is sort of I have to admit. I've never been exactly sure sort of what their strategy is. I think I'm a bit more sure now. So basically, they've had over the last weekend, they've been announcing some games, and that sort of now I think made it clear, at least to me, this is sort of more of a platform sort of play. So more of something like a Forte than them being a publisher, which I think is sort of what I had them down as before. One of the confusing things here, I think, is they're Ethereum based. So everything they do is sort of based on Ethereum, but they sort of have their own. I mean, I don't even know if it's their own sort of side chain or something. I assume it's something like that. They have their own infrastructure as well that sort of links into Ethereum. And you have this idea. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but you can buy nodes. So that's the thing that always confused me when I first looked at GALA Games a couple of years ago. Is you could buy a node, and it wasn't very clear to me what a node was. Was it a consensus node, or was it actually a bit more like a governance token? I think, if that makes any sense, I think it is a bit more like a governance token, really, that you have these nodes and they sort of do something, but I don't think they're really adding. They may be adding some sort of consensus mechanic to the GALA sort of sidechain or something. But you only need to run them for 6 hours a day in order to get the reward. So clearly, that's not the same as running running a proper consensus node on a blockchain. It sort of needs to be up 24/7. Anyway. What's been interesting is sort of in terms of the games that have been announced over the last sort of weekend. So some of these games have been out for a while. So the first one they've had was Townstar. So that's been out. I mean, say it's in beta. That's been out for a couple of years. A browser-based game, sort of vaguely Farmville like. And I tried to play this a few times. Couldn't really understand what was going on. I have to be honest. I guess up to this weekend, their big game was Mirandus, which is a game that's not quite clear to me how far in development this is. They've been selling some fairly expensive NFTs over the sort of year around Mirandus. So some of their they have sort of a banking ecosystem, which would be the expensive NFTs. And Delphi Digital, was it Delphi Digital? Certainly one of the big crypto investors bought one of these for, I can't remember what it was at the time, $800,000. So a fairly substantial sum of money then, be valued a lot more now. And to buy that sort of that NFT was sort of providing a certain percentage of all the economic activity in the game. So you can kind of see from the economic point of view, if Mirandus was going to be a big game, that was sort of going to be valuable. But obviously, it's a big chunk of change. I've also been having a look at Spider Tanks. Which is again, it's sort of in beta. I've not actually got the thing to work. I've bought a couple of NFTs there. I think that just because it's in beta, there's not been any players there, so I've not been able to do it. I think probably you have to turn up at the right time when they're doing testing. So probably what's going on there. A couple of other ones. Iron Games, this Echoes of Empires has been announced for a while, and these two at the top are two that were announced recently. So they don't jump out at you as being like massive games, I suppose. But 22 Cans is Peter Molyneux's game development studio based in the UK. So obviously Peter Molyneux was sort of the creator behind Bullfrog, and then the Lionhead Games. So stuff like kind of Fable, I guess, was what he's best known for. Black and White, so some pretty big the God game stuff. And actually Legacy been in development, been announced earlier in the year. I don't know if it was on blockchain then, but now it's sort of coming to blockchain. It is interesting that both these ones say so. Last Expedition is a survival shooter from a developer called Certain Affinity, based out of the States. Done a lot of work actually with Halo and Call of Duty. They're based in Texas, I think. So what's interesting, going back to the node thing, is it says here development status pending node vote. So one of the things about nodes, when I talk about governance, is to get games on the platform, the node holders have to vote on whether they want them on, which I guess is sort of decentralized decision making. Quite why people wouldn't want these very high end games on there. I don't know, but potentially maybe they don't. Who knows how these things work? But anyway, so these ones are in development because they've been voted on as being sort of by node holders. These ones, not at the moment, although I can't see why they wouldn't be voted on. And the other big one is there's a Walking Dead game. So Walking Dead Empires which is based on the it's not based on the original Skybound comic IP. It's based on the AMC TV show. There's always that confusion with Walking Dead because there's basically an original IP holder, and then AMC licensed it off Skybound, and then had sort of run their own licensing as well through that. So that's what's going on. So that's why the Gala token actually is up. Couldn't really work out before. It's up 500% over the last month. I was unsure why that was happening. Clearly, it's because people knew all this stuff was happening. So I'm not necessarily saying insider trading, but clearly some people knew that all this announcement stuff was happening. Maybe some people just knew they were having a conference and stuff was going to be announced, so they sort of winged it, and it sort of had its own momentum. But clearly, the other interesting thing, sorry, when it comes to these sort of platform things is, should we have a look at store? So the Gala token is the underlying token for all the in-app purchases, and the problem becomes when the Gala token goes up. It's great if you're holding it, but if you want to buy stuff, then obviously the price of this in dollar terms is going up because the price of the Gala token compared to dollars is going up. So currently Gala token is about 50 cents. So obviously, a month ago it was more like 10 cents. So the price of these things has gone up fivefold. So this is now $2,500. I mean, they're sold out, but this is like $2,500. And that's sort of the problem when you have this, when you have a sort of base token, a base currency that is used across your platform, and isn't a stable coin, or isn't sort of dollar sort of denominated, because now some of these things. So this one here, the corporation deed for this is Peter Molyneux's legacy game. That's now $50,000. This one's $125,000. They've all sold out, so obviously people are buying into it. But for some of these other things, you do have a problem. It's not just these guys have a problem. I mean, Sandbox has equally had a problem with that, where they've denominated stuff in their Sand token, and the price has suddenly got very expensive for these things. The other interesting thing, I guess, about let's see if I can do this, is with a lot of these games now. I think pretty much all these games all have land elements to them, which is sort of interesting in the sense that everyone sort of in blockchain likes land as a concept, but does every game need land sort of now? So I get a little bit worried about people selling land and the land functionality being months away, if not years away. Obviously, if you're doing a sort of a real-time strategy game, land might be sort of a key part of the gameplay. If you're doing a like the Spider Tanks game, I mean that's like an arena-based game, so land doesn't sit within the core gameplay. And we can see here, obviously land does sell out, and this is the Mirandus one. So we can see here some of these Citadel of the Stars, 5.8 million Gala tokens. That's now it's almost $3 million now to buy that. Obviously, no one will buy that now, and it's sold out. But you can kind of it sort of messes up the economy, I think, some of the stuff they're doing. Right, so let's have a look. We can have a look at my inventory actually. So there's a few things I've got, and this also goes back to this sort of platform play. I think it adds some usability in the sense that you can sort of access all the games from here. Also adds some complexity. So sort of this is a centralized server, so you sign up and you can use two-factor authentication. And you also have this sort of problem where it's you have to transfer your assets over to the client wallet. So look at my balances here. This is what I'm holding within the sort of the Gala Games client wallet. So this is not looking at my MetaMask. I'm not signed in with MetaMask. I had to basically transfer stuff from my MetaMask wallet into their own custodial wallet. Although they have a way where it's they can't access it, so it's not probably not custodial from that point of view. But it's sort of like the worst of both worlds, maybe to some degree. Anyway. The other complexity here is we can see we have Gala. So I have some Gala tokens which are running on the Ethereum blockchain. So I have 346.2 of those. I also have 100 Gala tokens running on I guess this is the Gala chain. So you have this sort of friction about, you have these tokens which are the ETH tokens, and these are the native tokens. This isn't the only project to suffer from that, but it does cause complexity. I've also got some native ETH in here as well. And then we also see some of these games have their own tokens. So we have Towncoin, don't have any of those, but we have Towncoin version on ETH, Towncoin version on Gala chain. For some reason, they're very into BAT, so there's BAT as well. I haven't got any BAT in my wallet. And then I've got some NFTs. So I have a look. I just bought something very cheap actually a while ago. So I have a tent, basically the cheapest thing I could buy. For some reason, it's not showing. So we can see here all items, Ethereum blockchain treasure chest. And the other one I have is the one I was doing, the Spider Tank one. So these are some cheap things. You need a body and a gun to play the game, and I've never actually managed to play the game, but I think I'm turning up at the wrong time. The other one to look at is so Vox is something that was just announced as well. Vox is something that is Will Wright. So Will Wright is already doing something on the Forte blockchain called Proxy, which is some really sort of interesting AI-based metaverse memory, sort of really quite high-end, conceptually, high concept. He's also doing this thing on Gala, so I don't know where that's I don't know where that's come from. It's some sort of they're saying sort of some sort of DeFi for NFTs, avatar things. No idea what's going on with this. But there's this Galaverse thing. I think this was the thing that they were announcing. This was how they were announcing stuff on this sort of Galaverse thing. And the other game, let's have a quick look at the I guess the biggest game, which is the Walking Dead one. Okay, so this is the website for Walking Dead Empires, because that project for some reason is not listed within the Gala Games portal. So we have, it's obviously like every blockchain game, it's an MMO. So team up with friends, create your home, fight back walkers, rivals, land you own. So again, in this sort of game, obviously land is going to be a key component, because that's sort of position in the sort of whatever metaverse, MMO verse. So I think land is sort of an interesting thing there. Again, it's not very clear to me how quickly this game's coming, and sort of how land, it's hard to make an economic decision about buying land, I think, at this point. All these games should point out coming to PC, because that's the only open platform. Don't really get much, not really getting a lot of details at the moment. So the land tokens are actually being shown as sort of this sort of artwork. So what we're going to be doing, battling, crafting weapons. I don't think the gameplay is going to be that super different to what we expect. If you've got land, construct a base. Do some sort of collaborative stuff. Clearly building guilds, all this sort of social stuff is going to be massive. You can sign up for the newsletter. There's not really much there, and I think last time I did this, when we go to buy land, nothing happens. Which is not a good sign. So I am trying to be more positive about Gala, because they've obviously spoken to a bunch of proper grown-up game developers who've made games and done, been successful, and worked on some big projects. So they're obviously not, they're not a sort of scammy organisation from that point of view. I'm a little bit unsure still about my view on how they're positioning themselves as a blockchain gaming platform. I think there are lots of, I think lots of the problems they have, are also suffered by companies like Forte, and also I don't really know quite what Mythical Games are doing, but they're doing a similar approach. With Mythical Games, the only game they've got live is Blanco, so it's sort of hard to get a sort of take on that. But when you're doing this sort of platform thing, it is hard, because you have lots of different games, potentially lots of competing different economies. How are you going to run the currencies for them? If you're sort of Ethereum based but running your own sort of side chain, then that's sort of a sort of friction issue. I guess over time, probably all this stuff is going to move to stuff like ZK rollups or optimistic rollups, and there's going to be a bit more sort of consensus around sort of what to do there. I think that's probably a bit of a way off even for ZK rollups. I think a lot of these things end up being a bit of like walled gardens at the moment. So you have the blockchain, and then you're sort of recreating some of the issues with Web 2 by having walled gardens, because that's what gives you the accessibility. Obviously, at the moment we're not, with the exception of Townstar, none of the games on Gala are live. Clearly, there's some massive big games, and I imagine I'll be playing sort of all of them when they come out. And really, the proof of the pudding will not be for the platform, will be the game. So if there's a massive game, then a platform sort of does okay, because it's a massive game and you have to go through a platform to get it. I do wonder whether a platform first approach is how things should play out. I think maybe better off a game approach. So maybe over time, sort of Gala Games disappears as a consumer-facing brand. And maybe if the Walking Dead game's enormous, you just sort of log into the Walking Dead game, and all that sort of Gala stuff happens in the background. At the moment, I guess there aren't really any games, so they have to. The platform has to be first, because you've not got anything else. But I guess I'll be interested to see how quickly they sort of move, or potentially how they move their positioning from being a platform, and that's important for developers. but moving that from a platform to a game first approach. And I guess it's a very similar thing with Forte as well. I think these are difficult things to sort of position when you're in the early stages. I think as soon as you start having games coming out, you sort of get a better feel on how you're going to basically point consumers in various directions and get them to log into things. And you know, I think the other thing to point out is if you're doing stuff just purely on a blockchain in a more open way, then you have less friction there potentially. I think on other blockchains. I think the Ethereum one is hard at the moment because of gas fees, clearly. But we will see how it pans out. But anyway, I mean, Gala Games have sort of done the PR thing really well. They've announced some big IPs, which is impressive, I guess. That's the fun part. It's easy to announce games. I guess now they're sort of part of actually getting stuff out and building stuff out. And again, as well as these other IPs, Miranda's is a massive sort of project for them and has been in development, I mean, for well over a year now. And it'd be sort of interesting to get a bit more of a feel on how that one is going. Anyway, thanks for watching. This is Blockchain Gaming World, where we try and get our fingers in as many pies as possible. Please keep it here, subscribe to the channel, and see you again soon.